when we are talking about like economic development, okay, yeah, what do you think it is? I just want to hear some thoughts. Like, what is it all about? When we say economic development, what? Okay, but Edward, that's that's economic growth, right? When GDP is increasing, economic growth. This is what we learn. Yeah, didn't we? Right? Yeah, but it is. But that was a good answer. Any other ideas? So when we talk about like economic development, what is exactly economic development? How do we differentiate economic development, uh, with economic growth? So, structural shift. Okay, primary to secondary to tertiary. Um, okay, the structure of economy altering. Okay, all right, all right. And improvement in the quality of life and living standards. Okay, growth is total output change. Okay, increase in production. Yeah. Look, I would say all of the answers here they are all correct. Okay, because economic development is such a very complicated idea. Okay, you could say it's a multiple dimension perspective when you look at economic development. So it's not only about one thing. Okay, there are so many different elements together. We would call that economic development. But we would generalize economic development as this one right here. Okay, yeah. So when you look at this very simple diagram, okay, it's not an official diagram. Okay, it's just how I try to interpret economic development in a very simple manner. Okay, so you can see this is what economic development is all about. All right. So as long as you are able to see an increase in standard of living over time, that's an economic development. Okay. All right. But we need to know what standard of living is. But can you give me some ideas? What is standard of living to you? So if I talk about standard of living, what is that to you? So yeah. In what way you think you are able to get standard of living? Any any ideas? Yeah, so talking about standard of living. Oh, okay, better healthcare. Yeah, yeah, maybe, right? Yeah, if you have better healthcare, I guess the standard of living should be higher, right? The well-being of the citizen will be better. If you have resources and services available, oh, that's true, right? Yeah, because we all need to live, and yeah, who doesn't want more goods and services? And good environment, yeah, I guess that will improve your standard of living as well. So accessibility to services, that's the same point as Edwards. A transportation, yeah, just more stuff, right? Better education, so people they get educated, they have more knowledge, they are more able to determine, how their life should be. Yeah, that's true. And food, like necessities. Okay, so I guess you guys understand what standard of living is. That's very good. Okay, so when we are trying to define standard of living, um, there are so many components. Okay, there are so many components, and we don't even have a very rigid definition for it. Okay, because you just have too many components when you're trying to define standard of living. Well, you can just take a look of the chat. So there are so many things that you can talk about when we try to explain standard of living. So we would distinguish standard of living into two parts. Okay, all right, into two parts. So the first part that we would look at, it's something more materialistic. Okay, materialistic. All right, yeah. So it's going to be like money. Okay, money, income, unemployment, all that. Okay, so when you are looking at the first part, we always look at GDP. Okay, we always look at GDP. We always look at unemployment rate. Okay, because that really determines like how much goods and services that we can enjoy, right? Yeah, because we do need the money to buy all the goods and services. So the first part of it is very materialistic, and as long as we have higher income, okay, as long as we get like a better job, then we should be able to enjoy more goods and services. So that makes sense, right? Okay, yeah. Uh, but we also need to take a look of other things, okay, like education you guys mentioned, and you know healthcare as well. Okay, healthcare, and at the same time, like other stuff like environment, and also here, yeah, you can talk about leisure time. Yeah, like how much leisure time do you have in this country? So this is also explaining the standard of living that you have in a country. So you can say there are so many other components that you can use to explain standard of living, but here they are just some of them. Okay, they are just some of them. Okay, all right, but they do make sense, right? When you are able to earn higher income, then you are more able to get better education. Then you are more able to get better healthcare. But you never know if you have higher income. Is it always true that you will get more leisure time? Do you think so? Do you think when you get higher income, you are more able to get longer leisure time? What do you think? Do you think the two ideas are contradicted, or they should be, aligned with each other? Okay, depends on whether your position in the company rises. Okay, it depends. You might have to work more hours to gain more income. Yeah, right. So it's all common sense. So when we get to development economics, it's not so technical here. Okay, so you could say it's less economically technical when we get to this unit. So as long as you have a level of common sense, you should be able to get what this is all about. All right, yeah. So there are so many possibilities when we get to development economics, and right, okay, yeah, exactly. So that's why if we have to define standard of living, okay, we need to look at so many different items, okay, and when we are trying to distinguish the two parts, okay, so here that's one part. We would call that like quantitative component. All right, so usually we call that economic growth. So one part of it, when we are trying to see the level of standard of living, we look at the economic growth. Okay, yeah, because the higher income that we have, the higher output that we have, we should be able to get more goods and services. So that's like a common sense, right? So economic growth is one very good indicator that we will look at when we try to explain if one country has good standard of living or not. Okay, and also for the second part. So this is the second part when we are not really focusing on something materialistic. Okay, like education, healthcare, leisure time, environment. Okay, all that. We would call it quality of life. Okay, so it's more like a qualitative component. Okay, so by combining the quantitative and qualitative components, we are able to tell, okay, if that country, yeah, we have a good economic development or not. Okay, yeah, because standard of living is reflecting the level of economic development that a country has. Okay, yeah, but you can tell there may be some contradiction between the two components here. Okay, yeah. So when you get economic growth, do you believe with economic growth you will get quality of life along the way? Do you think quality of life should be a complementary item when you achieve economic growth? Do you think so? What do you think? So let's say now you have all kinds of economic growth. So with all the economic growth, do you think you are able to get quality of life? Oh well, that's very true. Well, that's very true. Yeah, economic growth. Well, you could say that. Yeah, it's achieved by exploiting the rest of the factors. Okay, so yeah. So when we were learning macroeconomics, when we see economic growth, um, the very negative outcomes of economic growth, you could say, some labor they're being exploited, environmental issues that we see, and the resources being exploited. So this is what I want you to know. Okay, just because a country has higher income, has higher output, it doesn't mean that the people they are getting better at all. Okay, that's not always the case. And as a citizen of any country, you shouldn't be fooled by that. Okay, you shouldn't be like some people and who always look at, okay, we are basically one of the biggest country of the world, and we have like the very top GDP and blah 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 blah. It we basically we are living a very good life. No, okay, doesn't really define the quality of life that you have just because when you are looking at the GDP and economic growth. No, not really. Okay, all right. So you need to make sure they should be separated. Okay, all right. Yeah, because you have so many other factors that you can look at when it comes to quality of life. So besides the three items here and also some of the answers that you gave me in the chat, like environment, what else do you think you can put it in quality of life? So we, as a citizen in our community, yeah, what would you say about quality of life? What else would you put in there? Come on, it's not something really related to economics, but we just use those items for the studies of economics. Um, okay, social connection. Yeah, that's very true. Okay, social connection. That's well, yeah, exactly. It's basically geography. Yeah, you can say it's geography and political environment. Yeah, that's very true. The political stability that we have, which will determine the quality of life. Yeah, if you always have like some kind of social unrest, you can tell the quality of life. The people they live in that city or country could be not so good, right? Yeah. So yeah, social connection and other stuff as well. So we would say, you see here, all the other components, okay, like crime rates, freedom, the level of freedom that you have, different kinds of freedom. It doesn't always have to be political freedom. It could be the freedom of speech. Yeah, other things. Okay, even your self-esteem. Okay, yeah, your self-esteem is also part of quality of life. Okay, when you live in a society, yeah, the level of self-esteem that you have, okay, the level of trust that you have, right? Yeah, when you look at the Google Meet, okay, look at all the cameras, right? Yeah, guys, just look at all the cameras. You still see some people they don't show themselves, okay, and here it really reflects the level of self-esteem that we have in our society. uh, Economists, we always use different things. We always use different simple things to study human behavior, and you can actually use like the cameras to see what's going on in the society in terms of quality of life. Yeah, you may want to ask yourself a question. Okay, why would you not want to show your face? Okay, why would you not want to turn on the cameras? Can you tell me what could be the reason why you don't want to turn on the camera? Well, but it's just one click. Come on. Like, yeah. What, lagging? Maybe lagging. Okay, maybe some kind of technical difficulties. But Ryan, I think, I think that's very true. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Sophie, the trust, the level of trust that we have in our society. Okay, that really reflects it. Or the community that we live in, the community which is CKY. Yeah, and yeah, you just cannot trust people here. in CKY, and that reflects the quality of life that we have in this community. With this much of trust, and also, yeah, and right, the self-esteem that we have, because some people, they might think I may not have a good appearance, and that's why I don't want to show my face to other people, especially at home. That also reflects, okay, the quality of life that we have here in our society. Okay, so yeah, development economics is actually quite fun because we can use so many things to look at the essential concept for this unit. And yeah, so there you go. Okay, so by now I think you understand. If we need to understand the definition of standard of living, we need to look at so many components. All right, not just some monetary values. Okay, not just some monetary values. Okay, something intrinsic, they do matter. Okay, they do matter as well. All right. Okay, freedom. Yeah. So those are the stuff. They really define your standard of living too. Okay. All right. So there you go. So that's standard of living. All right. But what about when we are trying to compare standard of living among different countries? What kind of indicators do you think we can use to make such comparison, or to try to understand what level of economic development that we really have? So what kind of indicators would you use based on what we have learned so far here? Yeah, come on, just throw me some indicators that you would use that can be reflected the level of economic development, or the level of standard of living. Oh, okay, life expectancy, yeah, GDP per capita, the level of education, and also HDI. Yeah, HDI. Some of you just mentioned in the beginning of the lesson. Happiness index, for sure. Yeah. So here, when you talk about quality of life, you can also put happiness in it as well, right? Literacy rate is also about the level of education. Yeah. So there are so many indicators that we can actually use to measure the level of standard of living. Okay. And in economics, we only look at two indicators. Okay, two indicators. All right. So the first one that we are going to look at, GDP per capita. Right. Okay. So we are going to look at something more materialistic in order to determine. Okay. So roughly, I guess this is the kind of economic development that we have as a country, and also we will look at something more composite, right? Because I think we all understand HDI. Wait, hey, do you still remember like what components are inside HDI? Yeah, because you guys told me you learned that from year 8 or something, right? Is it true, or did you learn that from? Oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay. But what about the first and second, Sophie? Yeah, oh, okay, yeah, GNI, that's one. Yeah, so that's why we are gonna learn that as well. Yeah, GNI, and HDI, we have three components. So GNI, there are two more. Anyone who can come on. No, you forgot it. No. Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah. Right. Okay. Oh, so there. Oh, right. Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. Okay. Life expectancy, and yeah, the level of education. Yeah. That's very true. Okay. Right. Well. When we talk about HDI, we would not use GDP per capita. We will use GNI per capita usually. Okay. Well, you will see why GNI is more applicable to measure standard of living very soon. All right. Yeah. So yeah, they have some differences. Okay, so make sure you know GDP is not equal to GNI. Okay, all right. We use different criteria for the both. Yeah. So let's go to the first one here. Okay. Very simple. Uh, if we are using real GDP per capita to measure standard of living, okay, what could be the pros? Yeah, what could be the pros when we're using GDP per capita to measure living standard? What can we see when GDP, let's say, when GDP is increasing? What can we see? Okay, easy to calculate, okay? But when we are looking at GDP, what can it tell us? So if GDP is increasing, what does it tell us? So, we know if GDP is increasing, which means higher income. So with higher income, what is the implication? Yeah, so, yeah. So, those will be the answers that you guys answer just now. Okay? So, you could say more goods and services, right? That's true. Okay? Because of that, you may be able to get higher quality of life. Maybe. Okay? And there are so many other points, okay, you guys gave me. So I'm just gonna show that to you because you guys have given so many answers already. Okay, so yeah. So this one we had it too in the chat. Yeah, so we can access to basic necessities. Okay, and to reduce poverty in general, right? Because with high income we are more able to buy stuff. So the poverty will be decreased, and with less poverty, we would say the quality of life should be better, right? Okay, and we can see the government they are going to receive higher revenue. Okay, we all understand that point from macroeconomics, right? Yeah, because the higher the income that you have, right, or the higher the profit that you gain, yeah, you're gonna pay higher taxes. And at the end, government they have higher revenue, and government spending will increase, right? Okay, so with that, you are going to see more healthcare being spent using government revenue, and all the other stuff that you guys mentioned, like education or maybe technology that we always mention during macroeconomics. When you are able to encourage better technologies, things will be more efficient. Production will be more efficient, and at the end, people they are able to enjoy goods and services at a lower price. Blah blah blah. Okay, all right. So many stuff that you can connect from macroeconomics to here. All right, and you can also say with more government revenue, the government they are able to spend it on some other places like environment, okay, and also like public goods, etc., etc. So yeah. So there are so many points that you can talk about, okay. And here I cannot show you everything, okay. But I'm pretty sure the rest of the points, okay. All right. So this is the kind of evaluation that you can make when the question is asking if GDP is a good indicator to show standard of living. Okay, so for the pros, you want to show that, all right, when we look at the GDP, these are what we can look at. Okay, because when you see the GDP number, you are able to say, right, with higher GDP, these will be the benefits. Okay, all right, yeah. But now it's more important to think about the cons. So what can GDP not see? Can you give me some points? So now this is what we can see from GDP. With high GDP, yeah, that's cool. But what can GDP not see? Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, so so I would just rephrase what Sophie just mentioned. Yeah, you cannot see happiness. You cannot see a literacy rate, which means that is only a single indicator. You cannot see anything else besides, something materialistic. Okay, all right. Anything else? Anything else that GDP cannot see, or GDP will create some kind of bias? Oh, okay, all right. Poverty gap. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah, poverty gap. That's a good point, Ryan. Um, you can see, you know how to calculate GDP per capita. So basically, it's just using the total GDP over, like a population. That's how you calculate the GDP per capita, right? So you're looking only at the average, all right. So what if there's only one very rich person, and the rest of them, they are all poor? Okay, so if that's the case, then you will see a very huge poverty gap, just like what Ryan mentioned. Okay, so that doesn't reflect on a good living standard, because just one people is living fine and the rest of them, they're suffering. Okay, environmental issues, yeah, that's also true, right? Black market, there may be so many illegal activities going on, and we never know. But Edward, usually the activities happen in the black market. They would not be counted in GDP, so I wouldn't use that as an answer. Well, even though I wouldn't say that's wrong, but yeah, but if you connect the two together, then you will see there will be some conflicts. Yeah, environmental issues. But what about when we look at GDP? Okay, it shows the total output of a country. Okay, anything that we produce. But the question here is, do we need those everything? Yeah. So let's say, a country who has a very high GDP is all because of all kinds of military spending. Do you think that will tell you a very good standard of living? Well, I think you will understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, it depends on what kind of goods that a country is producing, basically. Okay, yeah. So just because you have a higher GDP, it doesn't mean that the well-being of your people is getting better. Okay, yeah. Because if you spend all the money, if you spend all the output on something like military stuff, or something like junk food, something that is that is not really good for the well-being of your people, no, okay, you won't see a good living standard if you do that. All right. Oh, okay, Douglas. Yeah. So North Korea, even though they don't really have a very high GDP, but yeah, but when you look at the GDP, the weighting of the GDP, most of them should be going to the military items, and yeah. So well, this is not really a good example to use, because they don't really have a very stable or rapid growing GDP. But when you look at like some countries like America, okay, yeah, we all know America. They have the highest GDP in the world, but it doesn't mean that like most of the GDP, they really go directly to the people. Okay, it doesn't really reflect how well the people in there they are living in the daily basis, because when you produce so much junk food, when or like marijuana, yeah, marijuana, yeah, like weed. Okay, yeah, but that, well, maybe that helps. Yeah, maybe that helps the happiness of the country. Um, but this is what the point I'm trying to say is, the GDP that you have doesn't really reflect, okay, the well-being of the people. Okay, yeah, but you may want to check out, okay, if the weed that they are able to sell and consume, if that is going to help the happiness of the country. Yeah, that you should be able to find some data, and if you find them, you can tell me that really helps. Okay. And there are some other points. Okay. Yeah, just like that point you guys mentioned. Is this because you have higher output? It doesn't mean that you have higher leisure time. Maybe you need to work more to earn more. Okay, so you have like higher stress, and people's the mental health and also the physical health will be deteriorating because of that. So that's bad. Ryan, since GDP is the monetary value produced by the country's good, a lack of regulation favoring workers may result in underwhelming wages, and the standard of living is not increased. Oh, that's also true. Okay, yeah, that's also true, right? It's just opportunity costs, right? When you trying to focus on one part of it, yeah, one part of the economy, so some of the others they will have to be given up. Okay, all right, yeah. So there are so many cons, and that's why the pros here, they are not everything. Okay, here I'm just trying to tell you the key points. All right, but if you want to keep explaining the pros, there are so many other points, and also for the cons, if you want to keep explaining the cons, there are so many other points for that as well. Okay, all right. So you can also take a look of other points like more pollution because of higher output. So environment is not getting better at all, and the last one here is just what you guys mentioned. Some other factors they are not being considered, like the happiness, yeah, and the literacy rate, they are not being considered, and that's why when we are trying to evaluate this indicator here, this is what we can do. Okay, so this is what we can do. All right, yeah. So simple evaluation. So when you see a question like this, pick it. Okay, it's so simple, right? Yeah, you should be able to get 8 marks, right? Yeah, very easy mark. Okay, all right. So there you go. So that's the first one. Yeah, a single indicator. Any questions so far? Yeah, because yeah, it'll be great if more of you can participate. Yeah, it's okay, right? When we talk about development economics, just feel free. We have so many open topics here. So whatever you have, for any points, yeah, just say it out. Okay, it's okay. Right. Any questions so far? Okay, right. So this is what we have learned so far. Yeah. The meaning of economic development, the components of standard of living, and we just learned one of the indicators which can show the level of standard of living. Okay. So now we are gonna move on to the second one, the second indicator, which is HDI. Yeah. Human Development Index. Okay. Human Development Index. And yeah, so it's actually established by United Nations. And when you go to their websites, they have all the statistics for different countries. So they are all very good data. So you can get reference from them. And when you look at HDI, okay, so there are always 3 components. And it's just like what you guys gave me already. You have GNI, well, something very similar to GDP, but I'm gonna tell you very soon the difference. Okay, something very similar to GDP. So we are also looking at the level of income, yeah, from here, right? And we also look at the level of education. We also look at the level of life expectancy, which is related to healthcare. All right. So altogether, in general, the 3 of them they have the same amount of weighting. Okay. We don't need to learn how to calculate HDI. All right. We just need to know the concept of HDI. That's all. Okay. All right. But in general, they usually share the same amount of weighting. Okay. So when you look at the case in Hong Kong here, it's from 1990 to 2017. So you can tell Hong Kong is developing quite quickly. Okay, yeah, over these two decades. Yeah, so when you look at education, they have a huge increase in education level. Yeah, so from especially from 2000. Okay, yeah, I think we discussed some of them, like during some topic in macroeconomics. Yeah, because government, they were providing more and more free education to the citizens, and that's why when you look at when you look at the curve over time, you will see an increase right here. Yeah, I think it's because of the free education from 9 years to 12 years, and that's why you see an increase, all right, over time. And also now the kindergarten, they are also free. So when we go on, you will see the education level will be increasing and increasing too. Okay, yeah, and when you look at life expectancy, it's still increasing. Yeah, and some people, they were just being very ironic. They said it's because the society in Hong Kong is too stressful, and that's why people, they are so trained that they just cannot die. Yeah, and that's why you see a very high life expectancy. I mean, yeah, we have a very good healthcare system, but yeah, most likely is the mentality of the people we have in Hong Kong. Yeah, because people, they have been working their butt off for the entire life. So when they get retired, they just don't want to die because they want to enjoy more and more, and and that kind of boosted up the life expectancy. Maybe, yeah, maybe. Look at Japan. Japan is even more crazy. Okay, well, I think if we compare the healthcare system in Hong Kong and Japan, they are quite similar. But we all have like very stress environment, yeah, in our city and also in their country, and maybe that is part of the reason why we have like increasing life expectancy as well, because people just they think they deserve more after all the hardships that they have been through, and maybe that's the reason. Yeah, and GNI per capita, I think we have like a very stable growth in Hong Kong, and when you put everything together, then you will see that green line, okay, to show the progress of our standard of living. So that's HDI. Okay, so that's HDI. Okay, all right, yeah, simple enough, right? And when we look at HDI, for this one here, yeah, you just need to know it. Okay, I don't think in the exam people will ask you, okay, so for this number, how do you define the level of economic development in terms of HDI? But it's a good reference. So usually when we look at the number of HDI, it's between 0 to 1. Okay, it's between 0 to 1. And here you can see a spectrum. So this is basically the spectrum of HDI. Okay, so if you are 0.8 or above, you would be defined as very high human development. So so we would say, all right, if you have such number, then I guess the standard of living in that country should be pretty good. Okay, all right, based on the three factors that we look at, only the three factors that we look at. So you can still see some bias from HDI based on the concept that we just learned, because for quality of life, there are so many other components that we need to look at. But when you look at HDI, we only focus on the three. So yeah, so there are still biases, right? And yeah, so there are different categories as well. Yeah, when you get lower than 0.55, that's defined as very low human development. Okay, all right. So here's one question for you: which country do you think has the highest or the lowest HDI based on your geography knowledge? Yeah, over the years we have learned so much geography. I'm pretty sure your geo teacher, had mentioned something yeah, like this to you, right, along the way. Oh, okay, Denmark or Sweden. Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, I think that's pretty on point. Yeah, they are pretty high. Yeah. I'm also not sure. Yeah, about the most recent index, but usually they are always on the top. Denmark and Sweden. Um, yeah, based on the three criteria that we look at. So yeah, that I think that's gonna be a correct answer. Yeah, I'm gonna check it later. But what about the lowest? Yeah, have you guys ever look at some very poor country, like less developed country? Which one do you think is the less developed country in terms of HDI? The Nigeria? Well, it could be. Yeah, it's like if you blindfold yourself and just point somewhere in Africa, that could be that could be the one with like the lowest HDI. Yeah, you just try it. Okay, just blindfold yourself and just point somewhere in the continent of Africa. And well, I'm not trying to discriminate people, but it's just the fact that we have so many poor countries in Africa. Um, yeah. Right. So well, let's see. Here yeah, because this slide I made it like 2 years or 3 years ago, so it may not be that updated. But when you look at here, it will give you some ideas. All right. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure Denmark and Sweden they are at a very high level. Okay, but this one, yeah, if you look at Norway, Australia, yeah, like Switzerland, yeah, those places, they are places with very high standard of living. Okay, so if you are thinking about leaving Hong Kong, pick those. Okay, so one of the best things about learning economics is that if you are leaving Hong Kong, which country you should go to. All right, yeah. So here I have some options for you. Okay, it doesn't always have to be like Taiwan. I know Taiwan could be cheaper for the cost of living, but here, if you really want to enjoy your life, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Australia. Yeah, Australia seems closer to Hong Kong. They are very good choices. Okay, all right. So do consider them. Yeah, tell your parents. Yeah, tell your parents you want to go to Norway. Okay, because when you study Norway, you will see why they have such high level of standard of living. Okay, yeah, you will see why. Okay, and maybe it'll be a good thing if you just travel there and see how the people live, and you will see something else. Okay, yeah, and also Australia. Australia, yeah, I lived there for a few years, and I can tell you, it is. Yeah, I think it is one of the highest standard of living country that you could have get. Yeah, you could have, you know, lived in this world. Yeah, because of all the lifestyle that they have. Yeah, people they are just very relaxed over there. Okay, it's unlike Hong Kong. You can look at the standard of living when you go to a grocery shop in different country. Okay, yeah. Whenever you travel, you go to a grocery store and you look at how people work. That reflects the standard of living. In Hong Kong, look at how people work. Yeah, go to the cashier and see how people they check out your stuff. It's like really quick, like lightning. Okay, yeah, because time is money. It's like a beat, 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 beat. Right, that quick. You know what I mean? All right, yeah, like that quick. But if you go to Australia, that 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 beep will be like beep, 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 and maybe the next beep will be in 20 seconds because that guy is chatting with the other guy on the next aisle. So you know what I mean. Yeah, you can see a totally different lifestyle in some other countries. If you don't get used to that lifestyle, it will be so painful for you. Yeah, especially when you first move to a country like Australia. Yeah, because you were so used to the lifestyle that you had in Hong Kong because you never expect people to be that slow. Okay, but but the thing is you shouldn't assume life should be that fast. Okay, yeah, it should be that fast, right? So you just have to take your time and enjoy, yeah, the moments that you have, and and yeah, right? Okay, well, hopefully you will see that one day. Okay, all right. Um, yeah. Okay. Right. And here, when you look at the countries with the least HDI, yeah, you see here. Look at the map. It's all over Africa. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, like Niger, Congo, and yeah, Chad. They are very famous for being less developed. Have you guys ever learned about Chad? Yeah, do you know the percentage of dependency ratio in chat? Yeah, I think you guys learned that in like year 6 or something. Because one time I was talking to another GR teacher, and he was sharing like what's happening in chat to me. So I just wonder if you guys learned anything about chat. Do you know the dependency ratio in chat? Well, I don't even know where chat is. Well, maybe I'm gonna check it later. Yes, or somewhere. I don't know. But he told me the dependency ratio in chat is almost like 80%. It's 80%. Do you guys know what dependency ratio is? Anyone who can explain, like briefly, what dependency ratio is? Yeah, people who don't work. Yeah, people who need others to support them. Yeah, they depend on others. So if you know 80% of dependency ratio, so which means you only have 20% of the people in the country who are in the labor force. Like how is it possible? Yeah, right. But like 80% dependency ratio, you can tell that is exactly why they have such less developed level. Okay, when we use different index to measure, but it's because of so many different reasons. Okay, yeah. If you want to know more, yeah, you should do more research, like why they have such high dependency ratio. Okay, yeah, it's a fun topic, right? Yeah, if you want to know more about different countries, like why they have such situation and stuff. So yeah, this is development economics. Okay, right. So there you go. And so when we look at the first component of HDI, okay, we look at GNI per capita, or you can say per person. All right. So here I'm gonna tell you the difference between GDP and GNI. Okay. Well, I think I'm just gonna draw you a picture. Just give me a second. Okay. All right. So let me draw a circle. Okay, so this circle, you can say this is country A. Country A. Okay, and within country A, there are many different people from other countries. Okay, because that's very normal, right? It's just like even when you talk about China, look, there are so many people with different ethnicity living in our country. Okay, so let's say there are people from country B, right, C, and like G, right, etc., and you have some kind of A people as well, right? Yeah, right there. So when we are calculating GDP, we just calculate the total output within the country. Okay? It doesn't really matter where they are from, as long as they are producing goods and services inside that country that will be counted in your GDP. Does it make sense? So this is GDP. So GDP here is just the total output, right? It's just the total output. Total output. Wait. Just the total output within the country. It doesn't really matter which country you are from. Okay, we just have to calculate everything within the country. So that's GDP. Okay, within the country. Within. I just hate using mouse to write the words. Within A. Okay, within country A. Country A. Okay, so that's GDP. So that's GDP. But GNI, we will have to look at the world. Okay, so this is the world. Okay, this rectangle here, let's say this is the world, and let's say country A is here. So this is A. All right, and you have oh, okay, yeah, thank you, Eldon. All right, and you have like country B. So country B, let's use another shape. So this is B, and you have like C, which is like a triangle, and you have G, okay, which is a trapezium. Okay, all right. So there you go. All right. So for GNI, so this is how we calculate GNI. Okay, we just have to calculate the income of the citizen from a certain country around the world. Okay, because you know some people from country A, they are living in country B. Yeah, you know there are some people living in country B and they are working in country B, and there are some people in country C, which is from country A. Okay, all right, and you know there are some people living in country G, where they were originally from country A. Okay, so they are all working in different countries. So in GNI, we just calculate the total output of the citizen. Around the world. Okay, all right? Yeah. So for GDP, you are going to calculate the total output, whatever that is, within the country. All right? As long as they are producing something, then you will put it in GDP. But for GNI, you are going to exclude those people that is in your country. You know, they are not from your country at all. They are from other countries. So you're going to exclude them. Okay? And you are going to just calculate the people that is your citizen. Okay, so you know for your inland, you are gonna just calculate the citizen A, all right, and you will look at other countries as well. You will look at country B, and you will find in country B, you know, the income of those citizen A, all right, and you will go to country C, and you will find the citizen A, their income, all right, and also country G, you know, their income for, you know, the citizen A as well. So when you group all the citizen A's income together all over the world, that's a GNI. Okay, all right. Oh, so how do you evaluate GNI if they are overseas? They don't have obligation to submit their income information. Well, yeah, that's true. Okay, so you know when you are calculating the GNI, there may be some biases, but usually from time to time, your government, they will do survey. Okay, they will do survey like you know, every year or a few years in between. So you know they will get to know how much you're earning. So they get, you know, like some data from you. All right, every few years. So that's how they gather the information. And for some countries, even when you're working overseas, you will have to pay taxes back to your home country. So if that's the case, you will also find the information. Okay, all right. So you know, but of course there will be a room for error. Okay, so there will be some error. Okay, there will be some error for sure.